Hey guys, welcome back to Hands On channel. Today I thought we would take a break from the shed build here because man, I've just been going hard on this, and I just want to talk to you guys kind of, it's going to get a little political and stuff, so if you're easily triggered, go ahead and tune out to this video, come back in a week or two when I'm back on the shed build or whatever. But if you like to hear opinions, political opinions, then go ahead and feel free to stay tuned, and I welcome your dissent or your agreement or whatever, down in the comments down below. That's what this is all about. So I wanted to start today about, I was just thinking about the American dream. What is the American dream? And of course, it's a ever evolving, ever changing thing, even for my own life. I remember one time, when I was transitioning from my mom and dad's house out into the, the real world, just to make it on my own, be able to pay my own bills, have my own place, have my own car, that kind of stuff. To be able to stand on my own was my first American dream. And then, I got married fairly young, pretty young marriage, and I don't regret that at all. It was one of the, if not the best decision I ever made in my life. I've got, find yourself a great partner that's going to help you out because, they balance you out and stuff. But so I guess that's kind of part of the American dream. And from my perspective, a big part of the American dream for most people, I would say, probably male and female. And then it was, let's get a house. And, because we were living in an apartment complex, and we quickly realized that, the apartment people, they didn't care about our fridge being out or anything, basically. I'd have to ride them and hound them, and it was causing a great deal of stress. So we just decided to buy our own house. Again, that was one of our, my wife and I, that was one of our best decisions we ever made, looking back on it in retrospect. We were very young. I was 19 years old, and I had realtor people looking at me like, are you crazy? What are you doing? And even some people in my family, I could tell they were raising an eyebrow like, I don't know, buying a house, that's a big responsibility, all this, blah, blah, blah. But my wife and I, we worked hard. We paid our mortgage. We, paid all of our bills, although sometimes it was really tough, because later on, my daughter came along, and she was actually born with a rare condition called gastroschisis. And it's basically where your intestines are not formed fully inside of your body, like your belly skin doesn't wrap around the intestines right. It's something to do with, essentially, when she was being formed and made in there, something happened with the timing and things weren't right. So she had to immediately be born and have surgery. And here's my wife and I, a very young couple. I think I was 20 at that point, or 21 maybe. But we were essentially, over our head, and we're really worried. We had insurance, thankfully, but even that, we were getting bills that were $50,000, and at that time, that was as much as our first house cost. So we were panicking, although, one of the things that we picked up on fairly early in our relationship was that, through faith, through Christ, I don't know what it was, through just the way luck ran for us. Usually something would come along. I would get some extra side job, or I would, something would happen, and we would come into a little bit of money and be like, okay, we can just barely pay for this thing and get through this next month, and usually that's how it always worked out for us. So, not to say we didn't worry about money and stress about money, because man, we did. But looking back on that, it was really about, we were both young going into the job force. Of course, we were going to make, we had less experience. So of course we were going to make lower wages than other people. So we really didn't have a lot of chance to get savings going and stuff like that, because we were living, hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. So obviously that wasn't part of the dream. We wanted to be more comfortable and stuff. And, things got better. I got a better job. Things kind of moved along. We ended up paying off our first house, which was a huge burden off of our back. And once we paid that house off, then we didn't have to worry about mortgage payments every month. All we had to do was pay for the taxes and the insurance and stuff like that. And, honestly, once you own the house, insurance is optional. So you could have, if you wanted to live risky, you could have lived without that insurance. So anyways, it opened us up to a lot of ideas. We were like, whoa, wait a second. So it's this mortgage, just like when you own a brand new car that you don't actually own, that you're paying off at the car lot. They require you to have full coverage insurance on that thing. The same sort of thing applies to houses, because the bank wants to make sure and insure their money, their investment in you. So anyways, After a while, we outgrew that house and our dream changed. You know, we had more money coming in. We were like, you know what? We want to get our first house that we bought. We were smart about it. We bought a house on 1 acre of land, and it was out in the country at the time. You know, kind of still on the edge, but it was in the country enough where, you know, when we first bought that house, we had a pasture with cows right across the street from us. But then later on, that became a residential housing development. And, that was kind of the beginning of the end for that little area. So we were like, well, you know, we see the writing on the wall out here. We like this area. So we wanted to buy in a established subdivision so that we would know kind of what was going on around us, and that, you know, we could make sure a trailer park didn't move in across the street from us or whatever, you know, or just a neighbor that, you know, didn't care about a junkyard or whatever, that kind of deal. We wanted to be in a nicer neighborhood and stuff. And while that has some good things and some bad things that come along with it, you know, when you're in that nicer neighborhood, you got to keep up appearances in that nicer neighborhood. So that is a demand on your time and stuff like that, just keeping your yard, your property, your exterior, plus anything else that comes up. So, you know, all of these dreams I'm talking about require hard work. And that's when we hit this big divide in the country. One side doesn't think you should have to do hard work. They think you should be entitled to basically a monthly income for doing nothing. You know, if you want to be an artist or a musician or a sandcastle sculptor or a whatever, you know, anything you can dream up. One side wants to just give a living wage to pay for all that. You know, well, the problem is for a long time we've had this country set up where like about 50% of the people pay for the other 50%. It's just the way the tax system is structured. So it's not right. The bottom half's not paying anything and the top half's paying everything. So it's not right already. And when I hear these liberals coming on TV and such and talking about raising taxes on the rich, I know the truth about that. Who they're talking about is people like me and you that in our minds, we're not rich. We're like, hey, well, you know, yeah, we've got land. We're rich in land. That's where my wife and I have made our investments and stuff. And part of that's because of watching the dollar deteriorate over these years. We're like, whoa, wait a minute. We don't want our savings to just dwindle away into nothing. We want to buy something that's going to be worth more in the future, not less. So that's part of the reason we've invested in land. So back to the American dream thing for a second before I go off too deep on the liberals. You know, our dream evolved again once we kind of outgrew the suburb house. My daughter grew up. She went on, you know, she was fine, by the way. She had the wonderful surgery, one of the best surgeons in the world. He fixed her up. She was fine. It wasn't instant. We had to work at it for over a year. It was tough. And my wife did miraculous things, man. She had to basically stay home. She couldn't, our baby was sick enough that my wife could not work. And so that meant that my little peanut wages were what was keeping us going, and it was tough. It was a real struggle. So thankfully, with family help and just other people, friends and stuff like that helping us out, and good luck some of the way and the grace of God, somehow we made it through all that stuff, and in the end, we were better and stronger for it. We learned a lot from those struggles, you know, and I think that people that don't go through that today, you know, and I get it, you know, every parent wants their kid to not have to go through the struggles that they had to go through. But I think we've reached a point in this country where these kids aren't struggling at all. They're not struggling, you know, the parents are there to basically, you know, mother hen them every situation. They never let them get into a situation where there's controversy or conflict. I've noticed with a lot of the younger people, you can't even have any debate with them because they don't like anything confrontational. If there's anything that has, you know, opposing views, two different strongly opposing views, they want to try to ride this ground that they're calling middle ground, but there really is no middle ground on big hard issues like, you know, do you believe in, you know, more taxation or less taxation? Well, personally, I believe in less taxation, keep it more of my own personal wealth. I'm more in line with the founders on that. You know, taxation is theft. And we should be working to get rid of all of that and trim the fat in Washington, D.C. and drain the swamp, whether it's Trump or whoever it is. Somebody needs to get these. And what I mean by that, I don't know what Trump means by that, but what I mean by drain the swamp is get rid of all of these career politicians. And, you know, I can't control what happens in Kentucky, I believe it is, where Mitch McConnell's from. or, you know, California, because I don't live in any of those places. I don't live in a place where I could vote Nancy Pelosi out of office. But these people, these career politicians, the system was never set up for this. And this is why, you know, it's just like anything, guys. Have you ever worked at a job where you're like, you know, at first you come in, you're busting ass, you're trying to, you know, impress the new people. They're like, okay, man, this guy's a hard worker, blah, blah, blah. Well, then after, you know, let's say 6 months, you've seen enough people around there. You've got ass kissers. You've got people that act like they're working but aren't really working, you know, and the people that are surfing their phone every time you turn around, those kinds of guys. Well, after a while, and you realize that you're pulling all the weight, pretty soon you back off. You're like, well, you know, I mean, if Joe over there is just going to fuck off all day and make me do his side of the job, and then he's still getting the same paycheck that I'm getting, then I'm going to back off. It's just a natural human instinct. We all do it. I've done it. I'm a hard worker, but I've done it myself. I've taken advantage of things before because I've been like, you know what? Heck yeah, I'm going to go out there and take an extra break because I can get away with it. You know, it's just like your mama taught you. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile, that kind of deal. Well, the Democrats have been doing that especially, but all of them have. I mean, again, Mitch McConnell, I want him gone. Mitt Romney, you know, there's probably others. I just, you know, I'm not super familiar with all these different people because I try to like keep my head out of the swamp. I don't care about Mitch McConnell except for the fact that he's the head of the Senate. So anyways, my American dream has evolved along the way. I'm sure yours has too. As we mature in age, we want different things. And, you know, part of my deal is that I'm less and less about material things and more about, well, except for tools. I need more tools, but I'm less and less into materialistic things that, you know, trinkets and things like that are going to fill up your house and fill up your life with things that actually enslave you in a lot of cases. So, you know, things kind of look a little different to me than they did when I was 21. That's for damn sure. Again, just like whenever I left my mom and dad's house when I was a youngster and went out and stood on my own, now I'm ready to leave daddy government's house and stand on my own. And I'm ready to be able to, you know, rather than having to go to the grocery store for every little thing, I'm ready to be able to grow it myself and produce it myself or trade with other people that, you know, would be beneficial to me. So my dream has changed quite a bit. But one thing that hasn't changed is freedom has always been at the core of that, and liberty has always been at the core of those dreams of mine. I can't imagine what young leftists' dreams are. From what I see, you know, from what I've been told and what I see, it's to destroy the country as founded and implement some sort of a socialist system, a Marxist system, a communist system. And, you know, I take heat, especially from Europeans coming in and saying, you don't even understand what communism is. I damn sure do know what communism is. And I know what socialism is. And I know what Marxism is. And I'm not really going to debate a European too much about it. I'll go back and forth a little bit. But, you know, really, I don't care. They've been drinking the Marxist Kool-Aid, the socialist Kool-Aid for so long that they think everything that's socialism is not socialism. So I'm not going to sit there and get in an argument or a debate about that. But I'll tell you what is socialism. Social Security. Welfare, you know, SNAP program, food stamps, Medicaid and Medicare, whether we like it or not, that's a form of socialism. Now, should we not provide some sort of a healthcare system especially for our veterans and our elderly people that are, you know, approaching the twilight of life and they can't take care of themselves? Yes, we sure should, but it shouldn't be so full of pork and fat that the people at the end of the chain don't actually get the benefits because of all the rich fat cat politicians strawing off of it, you know, and sucking off of it so they can drive their limos around and have status and be in office for 47 years like Joe Biden. You know, again, I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for or anything, but I will tell you who I'm voting for. I'm voting for Trump. And the reason I'm voting for Trump is he's been around for 4 years. Biden's been around for 47 years. And he is a perfect example of what exactly is wrong with the swamp. He's an example of a swamp creature. We don't want him around. We don't want Pelosi around. We don't want people like Mitch McConnell around that get in there and stay in there forever. We need new, fresh ideas. We need guys that are new employees coming in, just like you and I were. And you go in, you work really hard when you're that new employee. We don't need these guys that have figured out the system for 47 years and know how to screw the system for 47 years and manipulate things. No thanks. And in fact, just on that note, ask yourself this. Why did the Democrats, out of everybody else they could have picked, in my opinion, I was most scared of Tulsi Gabbard. As a Republican, I was most scared of Tulsi Gabbard. I thought, man, she makes sense. She will actually win the hearts and minds of people that are in the Libertarian Party and, not so on board with Trump. But instead, they picked Joe Biden because he's an empty vessel. That ought to scare you to death. I can't imagine what a 2021 would look like with Biden as president. My opinion is this. It would probably look a lot like the worst parts of California, the worst parts of Chicago. They want to destroy the country. They want to destroy the Constitution. Not me. I want to restore it. So, guys, let me know. Are we fixing to see a repeat of 2016? Because that's what I think happens. That's what I think. That's my prediction. I don't like to make them, but I'm making one right here. A bold prediction for 2020. President Trump will win in an overwhelming majority. And the reason why I'm very confident in stating that fact is Joe Biden has zero support. Although, I will add this little but. My wife pointed out something the other day, which I thought was brilliant. She said, maybe the reason that no one's showing up for these Joe Biden events and stuff is because they're trying to have the appearance or the illusion, create the illusion that Biden doesn't have any support, which will make a lot of the Trump supporters stay home and not vote because they'll be thinking, oh, there's no way Biden can win. Look, he has no support. So that could be a psychological play by the DNC to try to keep the Trump voters at home. But I don't know, guys. I'm for America. I'm for the economy. I'm for, freedom, liberty, all those things, and lower taxes, and not socialism, not communism. So Trump is the anti-communist vote. Whether you like him or not, whether you think he's brash or a jerk or an a-hole, it doesn't matter. Maybe right now we need an a-hole to deal with these freaking sissy pansies on the left that have forgotten that it takes hard work and determination to really win here in America and to have a real American dream. So if I've missed anything, let me know. I don't think the liberals have a real American dream. If you're a liberal, let me know down in the comments, what your American dream is, because living off someone else and making them a slave to you is not cool. And eventually, who was it? Margaret Thatcher said, socialism's great until you run out of other people's money to spend. So I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.